Okay, welcome back to some solo role manging. And yeah, last time we suffered another humiliating defeat. So we have to start again before we can get to the lost city of Barakus. Someday we will get inside that dungeon. We have 3 new characters here, and I actually want to adjust it. I don't like... We have to specify what these things are. That's leather armor. He has medium, so I assume this is scale. And then this, we bought leather armor. Okay. We have 3 new characters, a batch of humans. We have Tarthona, who is a war dancer. So she dual wields and uses dexterity. So she's also going to maybe double as our thief. Probably picking up traps and locks as her level 2 skill. So that's fine. She won't be much of a thief right now or anything, but she can stealth and she has 16 dex, so she might still be a good scout. And she'll probably be on point. Because Porridge's perception is not great. Porridge is our cleric. I've decided to just officially call it a cleric and not mention cultist at all. I don't like the term cultist. It just has those negative connotations or sort of darker connotations. He's a cleric. He gets divine magic. He has to pick, you know, sort of a lawful or a good deity. He's a fucking cleric. Here, cleric. He's not really that good. Not really good, too good at all, but he's not really that terrible either. He's pretty middle of the road. We gave him a mace. He's got scale mail, a shield, and he has well, he can turn undead, and demons, which is pretty useful potentially, and he can cure light injury. So he'll serve a purpose. He might get some kills. And then we have our mage, Nathun. Bit of a sickly lad. He only has 9 hit points. Not great. He's not really that good either, but again, he can cast spells, and we gave him magic missile. Mage missile. So, you know... we'll see how useful mage missile actually ends up being. Yeah, we'll see how useful it ends up being. But otherwise, he has a crossbow, so he can plink away with that. He does have a 13 perception, so he gets +1 to his attack rolls. Not amazing or anything, but... yeah, I mean, that's technically better odds than Porridge has with his mace. So we'll see how it all goes. Before we get into the adventure, though, I did take the time to set up, finally, deities for the cleric. Because that's part of, in Tales of Argosa, it's part of picking a cultist, is you have to pick one of the deities here. And they come with benefits, so I wanted to carry that over. I don't think any of them are really that overpowered, but maybe a couple of them lean that way. I also don't know if clerics needed benefits from picking a deity specifically. Like, I don't think they're like an underpowered class without the deity benefits. But also, it's like a fun bit of flavor and sort of, you know, I don't know, it just feels good. So, like I said I was going to do, I went with the Forgotten Realms deities, specifically Faerun. Like, so that, you know, the Sword Coast kind of region, you know, the main continent of the Forgotten Realms most people are familiar with. And I went with, there's a bunch of them, and I left some out that could have been included. I included some that could have been left out. You know, it's just like, I don't know, I picked sort of a decent representation, I guess. I don't know. It probably will be tweaked and adjusted over time, but it fits on one page here, so it's good enough. So we have Shanti, the goddess of grain farming and fertility. And you get bountiful blessings. You can bless a number of meals before consumption equal to your level. These meals restore 3 hit points and grant 1 successful recovery. So it's sort of like a standard ration, but even better. 1 more hit point, and you don't even have to roll. You just get the recovery. I had to word that kind of specifically because I didn't want to make rations. I didn't want to just create food, because then, like, pretty much you just never have to worry about food ever again. I didn't want to do that. And I also didn't want it to be a blessing of a ration so that you could just sit in town for a month and be like, yep, all our iron rations are now super food, and we never have to think about it again. So it's specifically like at night, when you're sitting down to eat your ration, you still have to tick off rations, but they're just better. Obviously, you know, for a party 4, after level 4, it's not going to do much, but you might have retainers or companions, henchmen, whatever. So it scales a bit. Then you also get Rooted Resolve. When standing in natural grass or dirt outdoors, so it's a pretty specific situation. You have to be outdoors on grass or dirt. Not rock or anything like that. The cleric reduces all bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing damage they would receive by a number equal to their level. Still a minimum 1, and I had to add that afterwards when I thought about it, because I thought like a level 8 cleric then would basically be immune to an entire army. You know? Because like a bandit or something with a sword, a short sword, will only ever do 1d6 damage. Even on a crit, it's 6 damage. So at level 6, you would be immune, essentially. I mean, you'd still be kind of fun. I mean, they would grab you and obviously throw you in a hole or something, and you'd suffocate. Who knows what? All sorts of... I mean, but it still seemed a little bit too overpowered. So no matter what, it drops down to a minimum of 1 damage, which in Tales of Argosa is still a significant amount. This isn't like, you know, a heroic fantasy game where you might end up with 100 and some hit points. Timora, or Timora, I'm not sure. Goddess of luck and fate. So you get Fate's favor, you gain an extra reroll. So a human Timora cleric would start with 3 rerolls. And anytime you use a reroll, you get an extra +2 to the roll. And again, Tales of Argosa, it's usually a roll under system. So usually a +2 is still a good thing, because that means you increase the number you're rolling under. So it's always a good thing. And then Lucky Strikes, you gain advantage on any 1 roll you make. You begin each adventure with 1 use of this ability. That's just sort of a standard phrasing for this system. I don't know if I have to specify more than that. The standard phrasing with that is that you can then recover it through short or long rests. I could add it, but I'm not publishing this. This is for my own use, so I understand what I mean. So yeah, any 1 roll you make, you can gain advantage on it, but that's another thing that you have to recover with a short rest or a long rest. And you're never going to get more than 1. You know, a lot of ability, like your class abilities, usually you get an extra use of it per level. This, it's always only going to be 1. So theoretically, once per combat, you can gain advantage on a roll. Theoretically, but that's not usually how it works out, because not every fight is significant. Still, I think it's pretty good. Tempest is the god of war and time. I just copied Graxus for that one. It seemed simple enough. I mean, it fits, right? It's the god of war. Not so much on the time aspect, but whatever. I didn't want to think about it too much. So that's the same. You may use all melee weapons or heavy armor, and you may access your rerolls for melee attacks and damage rolls. Umberlee is the goddess of the sea, storms, and tides. That one I imagine is more of a role-playing choice or a specific adventure choice. If you know that you're doing like a sailing one or a pirate one or like on an archipelago or something where there's going to be a lot of water. You get Sea's Grace, gain advantage on all swimming checks, and you ignore any swimming penalty from armor. So, really good at swimming. And Tide's Blessing, once per adventure, you may pray for safe travel over any body of water. So that could be if you're swimming across like an underground pond or something like that, or that could be if you're sailing from one continent to another. Whatever. I don't care. It's a pretty niche thing, so yeah, once per adventure. Moradin is the god of dwarven craftsmanship, mining, and stone. Might of the Forge gives +2 to any strength-based check, not including attacks or damage. And Gift of Construction, given enough time and resources, you may create masterwork items. There's a couple of deities here where I basically wanted to just implement proficiencies from Axe, like a couple of proficiencies. And so that was basically this. Like, basically you have art and craft at, like, level 4. So you can create masterwork items. And basically I would just use the numbers and stuff from Axe for that purpose. If you wanted to make a masterwork item. Which is pretty good. I mean, being able to do that, that's not normally like a low-level thing. And if we go and look at proficiencies, art craft. So a level 4 craftsman, a Grand Master, can construct 80 gold pieces per month of dedicated activity. And supervise up to 2 masters, 4 journeymen, and 8 apprentices, increasing their productivity by 50% for a total construction rate of 440 gold pieces per month. Working alone or with his subordinates, he can create masterwork items appropriate to his art or craft. So, and remember, a masterwork item, like a masterwork piece of plate armor, that costs about 710 gold. So even with your whole team and everything, that's still almost 2 months of work. Which is why they really should be not super common to be made. But yeah, I mean, it's not. It's not as good as it probably looks on paper. Of like, oh shit, I can create masterwork items. Like, yeah, it still takes a long fucking time. And I'm not quite sure what like the material cost is of something like that. I don't know. I'd have to look more into. I don't know if there is more information on just crafting anywhere. I have no idea. So I don't know what it actually costs in materials to make plate armor. But I assume that's somewhere in the Discord if it ever comes up. Anyways, yeah, I mean, I wanted to do something with being able to craft stuff. I guess I could have made it more magical and made it a lot faster. But that's hard to balance, you know. It could get out of hand. This, I know it's balanced. Joaquin is the goddess of trade, wealth, and prosperity. So I wanted to simulate a little bit of the venturer class from Axe and the bargaining proficiency. So we have Bargain's Blessing, gain +2 to persuasion checks, and you get 10% better prices when buying or selling. Not amazing or anything, but that shit does add up, you know. 10%, because assume that you're almost certainly going to be the one doing all the merchant activities for your group. So basically cutting 10% off every single thing you buy and getting 10% more for everything you sell. I mean, that's pretty good. And then I wanted, yeah, sort of more of a modern ability, I guess. Blatant bribery. When dealing with intelligent creatures, can spend an amount of gold equal 10 times the total hit dice of all creatures involved to cause them to leave or allow you to pass. At DM's discretion, creatures with strong convictions or strong reasons to not accept the bribe may refuse. This one is probably the most questionable of the whole list of just like, I'm not really sure if it's balanced. I'm not sure if someone would want to pick it, considering that second sentence, whereas the DM could just be like, yeah, I don't think so. It's sort of a thing that you already could do just normally. You know, you always can just attempt to bribe creatures. Like that's not, you know, that's something anybody could do. This just gives a very specific kind of hard ruling for it that the DM is mostly inclined to allow. Without any sort of like repercussion or follow-up. Like sometimes, you know, if you were just playing normally and someone said, I want to bribe the bandits that are trying to rob us, and it's like, here, just take this amount of money, and they'd be like, okay, that's nice, now we're gonna take the rest of the money, you know. Like, okay. But with this, it would just be like, okay, like it's like a divine bribe, basically, where they're like, okay, I'm happy with this, we're gonna go. Yeah, but I mean, like, if you're encountering a bunch of like orc mothers protecting their babies, and you're like, here, take this 100 gold, and, you know, get out of here. We're gonna deal with this. Obviously, as a DM, I'd be like, no, that's just not gonna happen. But I don't know. It could be overpowered, but I don't think it is. Maybe at higher levels, but even then, probably not, because at higher levels, you have all sorts of solutions for shit like that. At lower levels, gold is a bit more precious, usually. And yeah, 10 times, so say you're attacked by 6 bandits, that's 60 gold to get them to leave. It's not nothing, but it's not too much, and, you know, especially if you don't want to fight 6 bandits, because it could be a problem. I don't know, we'll see. You know, who knows if anyone that I ever play with, or myself, will ever pick Joaquin. For solo purposes, I don't know if I would. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I think it's kind of a fun role-playing choice. Like a cleric of Joaquin, I think, is kind of interesting. Well, Lathander, god of dawn, renewal, and life. So, Radiant Renewal. This is basically just Cure Light Injury, but as a separate ability. So it doesn't count for your spellcasting. You don't have to roll a spellcasting check or anything. And it just heals 1d6 plus your level. You're never going to get more than one use of it per adventure. I mean, as far as like, I mean, you can recover it through short rests and stuff like that, but you're never going to have 8 uses of Radiant Renewal or something. So it's just kind of an extra nice little heal. Yeah, I mean, 1d6 plus your level. Not bad. You know, at level 4 or something, you're averaging 7 hit points. Or 7 or 8 hit points. And again, it seems like we have a lot of hit points at level 1. You know, it's certainly possible to have 20 hit point, 22 hit points or something like that at level 1. Not 20. Yeah, no. I mean, it's certainly possible to have, like, yeah, 17 to 20 hit points. But it doesn't really go up much more than that. You know, like, fucking Nathun. At level 2, he's going to have 10 hit points. At level 5, he'll have, like, what, 14 hit points. You know, so a 1d6 plus level heal for him is kind of always going to be pretty valuable. And then Life's Light, I took that from Argona, from Tales of Argosa. You get the Apothecary skill if you don't already have it, and you may use your will instead of intelligence when rolling Apothecary. Apothecary is all about first aid and the healing, you know, things like that related to medical stuff. So it felt sort of appropriate. Kelemvor, god of the dead and justice. Gave him Judgment's Edge, so it's another ability you get with the, you know, its own scaling. This one is the only one on the list that I gave one use of the ability per level. So you're actually going to end up eventually with, you know, like 8 uses of it at level 8 at the start of an adventure. But that's because it's not particularly amazing. It's pretty good. I mean, it's nice to have, but it's not, like, insane. Basically, if you successfully hit something in melee, you may add 1d6 necrotic damage. That's it. No other scaling involved. Doesn't add any mod to it. Doesn't add any level to it. Just 1d6 necrotic. So that's why it's not insanely good. And you already have to successfully land a hit. So, yeah. It's a nice little thing. You're going to have a lot of uses as you level up, and you can recover them through short rests and stuff. But usually clerics have enough to recover anyways, so it's hard to say. Also, Death's Grace. You get +2 to all constitution checks, which is pretty good. That's not luck checks, though, and maybe I should change that. Okay, we're going to change that. +2 to all luck constitution checks is a little much. So maybe +1 to constitution checks and luck con checks. Or saves. I don't know what the terminology is. And +2 to death saves. Yeah, okay, I guess that's fine. I think +2 to luck con is a little too much, considering that I've nerfed, or I've buffed, I guess, luck saves a lot by not requiring, like, enemy poison attacks to tick down the number. Yeah, I think that's okay. So they're a bit harder to kill. And then Mystra is the goddess of magic. I don't know how many clerics actually worship Mystra in the setting, rather than just, like, mages that kind of follow her or something. But I decided to throw it in there as something a little bit different, in case you're the type of cleric that's, like, probably going to multi-class at level 3 or something, like Dahlnir did. So you get Mystic Insight, you gain Arcane Lore if you don't already have it, and you may use Will instead of Int for Arcane Lore. Pretty simple. And Mana's Grace. When targeted by a hostile spell, you may roll an Arcane Lore check. On a great success, the spell is nullified. If so, you lose access to the spell until a long rest. So potentially pretty powerful, because you can just negate an entire spell. I mean, this is before any luck check or anything like that. And it maybe gets a little questionable when it's like a group spell or an AoE spell. And I probably should include text for that to remind myself, but I interpret that as you are nullifying the entire fucking spell. So if someone casts Fireball on your entire group, that includes you. And if you get this, you just nullify it and you save the whole group. No one has to roll luck. I guess I will. Including as part of an AoE. I don't know if that phrasing is right, but I understand what I mean. And that's all that matters. Alright, so that's our list. I think there's a decent mix of sort of some role-playing options to sort of get you into the, you might play a cleric that just follows Joaquin, or follows, the god of the dead, or follows the goddess of the sea, gets a little bit into that. But also, if you're more mechanically minded, I think there's a variety of good options. I do think, Tempest is going to be a good option for a lot of clerics that especially have a higher strength and plan to be rolling into melee. But I don't know. I might lean towards Timora. I don't want to necessarily say that's the best one, because I think, I don't know, there's a lot of good ones. I think I've done an alright job here. I think there are a couple maybe weaker ones, but it's hard to say, and it kind of depends on the campaign or what you're going to be doing, but, we'll just go with Timora, I think. That's fair enough. I'm gonna actually fuck it. We'll put it in his title. Okay, Cleric of Tamora. So he gets an extra reroll. Don't really want to put it under class abilities, even though it is. Oh, you can put a deity. Okay. And I could put in benefits here, but I want it to be a bit more. So he's going to get 3 rerolls. I'm just going to put it under unique features so it's not cluttered. +1 reroll. And +2 when using reroll. Okay, that's pretty nice. And Lucky Strikes, which is a use. Lucky Strikes. Okay. And he needs that advantage because he's not very good. Alright. So that's what I put together. I'm reasonably happy with it. Like I said, probably subject to some changes, but it's in the document now. So that's what I'm going to be using going forward for any clerics. I do think then, with everything combined, clerics potentially are the strongest class. Maybe. You know, they automatically get turning, so they can turn undead. Depending on the campaign or adventure you're running, that's easily one of the best things. They get divine spellcasting, which has a big variety of fun stuff. And now they get extra benefits from their deity, which could be really good. They get to use medium armor. And they have a decent sort of attack bonus and hit point progression. So, yeah, they're pretty solid, which I think is how it was back in the day as well. I think clerics were always kind of pretty good class. Right. Which reminds me of something I wanted to look at. I don't think it's going to be in here. But I was watching an episode of Stranger Things last night. And they talked about a cleric. And they mentioned, like, protection from evil. And then they said, oh, and she can also teleport anywhere with Dimension Door. And I was like, I really don't think clerics get fucking Dimension Door. I'm gonna have to just Google it, because it's not gonna be in my Axe book. It's definitely a fucking Bard, Sorcerer, Warlock, Wizard, Spellblade. Now, they played in the 80s, so I don't know what exactly... I don't know what game they were playing. Maybe it was AD&D? I don't know. It's probably set at some point. Are they playing Redbox or something? It's a fucking wizard spell. It's never been anything but a wizard spell. And there's no way it's a multi-class cleric, right? He would have probably mentioned more than Dimension Door then. So I think this is wrong, and now I will never watch that show ever again. Okay, anyways. What are we doing? Well, I went on another spree of just like, what the fuck do I want to run? Well, you know, that whole thing, going over a bunch more stuff. And then I went on drive-thru, and it was like the Black Friday sale, and I spent like another $110 or something on just a lot of shit. In the end, though, I think we're just going to go with this one, which I think is free. So there, I was looking at a bunch of classic modules. There's not actually that many classic, like, BX modules that are low level or level 1. Because most people are just going to run, like, Keep on the Borderlands and just sort of tweak it or adjust it. You know, that was a very popular thing to do. But there was the B series of modules. B2 was Keep on the Borderlands, the most sort of famous module. B1 was a very introductory one. It was the first module designed for the basic game as an introductory thing. The only problem with B1 is that the DM has to populate the entire dungeon. It just has blank slots for you to write in what monsters are in there and what treasure is in there. In every room. There's nothing in there. So you have to populate the whole thing. So it's not nearly as popular because of that. Then there's B3, Palace of the Silver Princess, I think, which I didn't really even look at. Don't think that's a low level one. I don't know. What level is that for? I didn't even really look at it because for some reason I thought it was... No, it is 1 to 3. Okay, I'll have to look into that further. And then there's B4, which is the Lost City, and that's what we're taking a look at here. Yeah, right. So, and then B5 is Horror on the Hill or whatever, which I did look at, and I contemplated, but that one doesn't have like any sort of great, nice rewrites. There is one from Goodman Games, I think, where it wraps together like B1, B2, and B5, and it's called Into the Borderlands. And they did like this big reprint, I'm pretty sure just for 5th edition D&D. And then Wizards of the Coast came in and said, go fuck yourselves. And so now you can't even get it. You can't even find it anywhere. You have to find like some bootleg PDF, or I think you can buy physical copies because they still have it printed and they're allowed to sell it or something like that. But anyways, so B4 is Lost City. And it's pretty much just a big pyramid dungeon. And I could have run the original. I have the original downloaded, so we could look at that. Yeah, actually, I guess let's bring up B4, Lost City, just so we can compare. So this is the original one, Lost City by Tom Oldvay, for 1 to 3. Some very pleasant artwork there. So yeah, desert-themed, Egyptian theme, sort of. It's very nice. And you know, I mean, if you watch this channel, you know that I don't mind, like, old school stuff, right? Like, I've played all the Gold Box games. I played Might and Magic, Wizardry. I like old school aesthetics and stuff, but this style of map just is kind of disgusting for me to look at, I gotta be honest. This holds no appeal. It's usable. I mean, how could it not be? It's just lines and squares and numbers and, like, yeah, I mean, if we compare it, like, it's basically the same thing, but there's just something about that blue color and this, like, sort of faded look to it I just can't tolerate. So this is just so much prettier to me. Not that any of this is really that pretty. Like I said, it's just lines and squares, and it's not very pretty compared to a lot of the maps people make nowadays that are just bursting with color and little details and stuff. But and for player facing maps, like if I'm playing with a virtual tabletop, or I'm at the table and I have a TV set up that can show maps, like, yeah, that's all very pretty, and players really appreciate it. But as a DM, this is all you need. This tells you just the layout of the fucking dungeon and what section to look at. So, but yeah, so I don't like this, but that's not really the main problem. It's mostly just the formatting of the text, where it's just such a jumble and just paragraphs, and it's really hard to parse. There's no bullet points or bolded text, really. It's just fucking, like, look at it. It's just blobs of text. It's usable. We could run this, and had this not existed, I probably would have ran this version. But we're gonna run this fan re-edit called Pyramid of the Undying. It's mostly the same. Like, I think we'll do some comparisons as we go through just to confirm, but I think it's mostly the same. This is the changes he's made. He removed the lower levels of the dungeon, so this is only a 14-page thing. Really, if you don't count that, it's like, yeah, 12 pages. But that's still 12 pages, 58 rooms. So it's pretty dense. Whereas the original B4 goes to like 100 and whatever rooms. Yeah, 100 rooms. Zargon, which is pretty badass, but Yeah, so this is half the length. Moves the setting to medieval/early modern Earth. So it actually sets this like in 600 BC in what would become modern day Libya, and mentions Alexander the Great and stuff. And yeah, I have no interest in that, and I never would do that for running it. I like my fantasy. I don't want it to be anywhere near Earth, but we can ignore all that. Removed some D&D isms such as evil humanoids and some other monsters. Edited the text and layout for easier reference. That's the big thing. Changed treasure to a silver standard and slightly reduced the amount of treasure. That we don't appreciate. So that we might be comparing to the original just to see how much treasure we're supposed to get. But we'll see. Expanded information on joining each of the factions. And made minor adjustments to the maps and some encounters for tighter themes and more varied paths. So we'll be able to compare, and we'll take a look. All right. So we're not gonna read the history, and I don't think there's much preamble really. It also goes into the history of these things. Oh, here we have a player background, which is not included in the re-edit. Yeah, it's not. Interesting. Days ago, your group of adventurers joined a desert caravan. Halfway across the desert, a terrible sandstorm struck, separating your party from the rest of the caravan. When the storm died down, you found you were alone. The caravan was nowhere in sight. The desert was unrecognizable as the dunes had been blown into new patterns. You were lost. You headed east, the same way the caravan was headed before the storm. Days passed, your mounts died, and you soon drank the last of your water. The end of the desert was not in sight. The second day after your water ran out, you stumbled upon a number of stone blocks sticking out of a sand dune. Investigation showed that the sand covered the remains of a tall stone wall. On the other side of the stone wall was a ruined city. The stone blocks of the city had toppled and cracked with the passing of time. Sand had covered most of the buildings. The stones that remained uncovered had been scoured smooth by the blowing sands. In the center of the city towered a step pyramid. It had 5 step-like tiers, each 20 feet high. The bottommost tier was almost completely covered with sand. On top of the highest tier were 3 30-foot-tall statues. The statue on the left was of a strong, bearded man holding a balance in one hand and a lightning bolt in the other. The middle statue was of a winged child with 2 snakes twined about its body. The child held a wand in one hand and a handful of coins in the other. The statue on the right was of a beautiful woman. In her hand she held a sheaf of wheat and a sword. On the south side of the pyramid, a ramp with stairs led from the ground to the top of the highest tier. A quick search of the ruins revealed no source of food or water, so you decided to climb the pyramid. In the side of the ramp, level with the floor of the top tier, you found a secret door. Alright. And so that is this right here. So there's the steps that lead up to the top, and then the secret door that we find. So this is a great introduction if you want to have a campaign set, or at least starting in a desert region. If you want to play that style where you have to worry about water and the elements and all that kind of... I've never done it, but... yeah, I mean, I do think there's plenty of fun possibilities for that. Leaning more into this sort of Arabic, Egyptian sort of theming, you know... yeah, not so much a Eurocentric setting of knights on horses and all that, forests and stuff. And you can have a much different theme. If I was gonna lean something into that though, there is a book. I think it's by Chubby Funster. Maybe it's not. I don't know if I even have it really. Is it a... well, I own the physical book. Yes, here it is, Shadow Sun. So this is a conversion of Dark Sun into Shadow Dark. This is by Chubby Funster. Of course it is. And so it gives you information for new classes and new gear and psionics and stuff. And has information about the general world of Dark Sun, Althea. Has a bunch of new stuff for spells. A bestiary that's like 50 pages long. Stuff like that. This would be how I'd set it. And he gives a nice map. So yeah, you could just... I don't know. I'd have to read. I haven't read it. And I don't know that much about Dark Sun. I know that it involves psionics and desert and a lot of barren areas and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, you could certainly start a campaign here, and Lost City would not be a bad way to kick it off. Yeah, anyways. It's a thought. It's a thought. All right, so we are going to... we're going to be heading in because we have no water, and we're hoping we might find something inside this pyramid, although I imagine our hopes are pretty slim. I guess if you were a real dickish DM, you could actually implement the penalties for going, what, 2 days without water so far? Yeah, it's been 2 days without water. So if we look at Axe and go to surviving dehydration... After a single day without any water, you become dehydrated. You cannot heal wounds naturally, and you lose 1d6 con each day thereafter. So we could say at the start of this to everyone to roll a d6, and that's how much con you've lost. If you wanted to play into that sort of idea of, yeah, you better find some fucking water. I also, in this case, would probably have removed all their rations. It doesn't really mention that we're out of food. But if you're going to play in a desert setting like this, you have to then differentiate food ration from water ration. That you have to account for water. That's a very important part of the whole process. And water's heavy. Water's heavy. And you have to account for animals. If you have any animals with you, they have to eat and drink as well. Usually I hand wave that because it's all just, yeah, they're grazing and whatever. But yeah, I mean, that's another thing. So I wouldn't really recommend the desert setting unless your players are going to buy into that whole survival aspect a bit more than normal. But I mean, if you're gonna play, I mean, if you're watching this and you're interested in this kind of game, I imagine you already are aware of that. All right, anyways, so we're gonna head in. The slab of stone sits ajar on the side of the pyramid, and a small amount of windblown sand is scattered across the floor of a dark corridor beyond. Just outside this door is a skeleton of inestimable age. Inestimable. Its clothing has rotted to dust, and even the bones are crumbling. The only remnants of the skeleton's belonging is a copper mask, thick with verdigris. The mask depicts a gazelle. Alright. Encounters occur on a 1 in 6 each turn. That's interesting. The original module says once every 2 turns. And the general rule for, like, you know, BX, D&D, OSC, all that is once every 3 turns. We'll probably lean closer to once every 2 turns. I don't know why he ramped it up so much. On these levels, encounters are with random Synodician groups. Synodician. Synodicians? Okay, we'll go with that. Okay. We will get to that later. I imagine that's not what the original module says. No, this has a standard wandering monster table with giant centipedes, cave locusts, kinodicians, giant ferrets. Okay. Gnomes. They have traveled underground to the Lost City through the tunnels and canals that empty into the underground lake. Gnomes. So, yeah, the re-edit simplifies that a lot and basically just says, yeah, the Kinetisians are the only thing actually roaming around this area. At least on tiers 1 and 2. Further down, though, we get into the Brotherhood of Zeus, the Magi of Hermes, and the Warrior Women of Athena. Interesting. And then down to tier 5, the bottom, Were-Rats, Rust Monster, Fanatics of Zargon. Alright, mostly humans. Which generally makes for more interesting encounters inside of a dungeon, I suppose. Rather than just, yep, there's some more giant centipedes. There's 3 of them, and they're going to poison you. I suppose I could see that. Alright, we head in. We do have torches. Yeah, Nathun is the torch man, so he's going to light one up. Down to 6 on the clock. We turn the corner, there's a door. Well, we'd be dumb not to listen. Tarthona... Yeah, I mean, Nathun has slightly higher, but we don't want him anywhere near the point, so... And she has detection. Oops. Alright, she doesn't hear anything. 3 bronze tubes run from the floor to the ceiling, each with a door in the side. Each of the doors is protected by a trap from left to right as follows. Darts fire from the south wall, 3 attacks dealing 1d3 each. Spear trap from inside the tube, 2 attacks dealing 1d6 each. This trap has been triggered and there's dried blood on the spears. And pit trap, dropping the characters into room 2 below and dealing 1d6 damage. Inside the tubes are ladders which lead down to room 2 or up into the inner workings of the bronze statues above the pyramid. Each statue has eye holes for looking out of, speaking tubes, and levers for moving the arms and heads of the statue. Okay. So... basically... Okay, so the doors themselves are trapped. Which is fine. I mean, I wasn't questioning the dart trap. You go to open the door and the darts fire. The one I was more questioning was the spear trap, because that one's already been triggered, so it should be visible. To tell you that, hey, the doors are probably fucking trapped. So, this says spear trap from inside the tube. Which I read then as when you open the door, spears from the tube, like the far wall of the tube, shoot out and spear you as you open the door. Which means that I would say the spears are out, the door is actually like ajar, and there's blood on the spears. So I think we could take that one. We could take that tube and go down that ladder, but we'd probably have to, like, break the spears off. But that's probably the safest bet. I mean, if we're smart enough to realize that, hey, these other doors are probably trapped as well. Not necessarily, though, because you could assume that, hey, this was the trapped one. That one's not going to be trapped. That's the right one. You know, we were supposed to take that one. Whoever took this one was an idiot and they died. This one probably just drops off into a pit of lava or something. You could reason that logic. I guess we'll have to go to an oracle roll. Will we assume that the middle tube is safe? Yes, we will. Okay. So, well, we'll assume that they're all trapped, and we'll just not necessarily suspect that this is going to lead to our death just because we see it's been trapped. So, yeah, I guess we'll go to, we'll go over and just sort of break off the spears from the tube, which I guess we could take and use as, like, a javelin or something, but I don't know, it would be like an improvised javelin. It would do a D4 of damage, probably. Yeah, that's how I'd rule it. A D4 instead of a D6. So we could use it. We could take it along. I guess Tarthona has no reason not to take it. So, improvised javelin. 1d4. Yeah, it says it weighs 1/6. So we'll put it at 2.5. And we'll put 2 of them. So that would be 0.5. Okay. That's fine. Alright, she'll take that. And we'll have her start descending down the ladder, followed by Nathun so she can see whatever's at the bottom. Alright, and that, we'll say, took 10 minutes, so that's that. We enter into a workshop. The ladders descend from above. And there are 3 fire beetles in this room. 1 hit dice, armor as plate. I don't remember that. And they have a corrosive spit attack for 2d4. Oh, let's look and compare it to the original, shall we? Yeah, it's a lot harder to read. He did clean this up quite a bit. Where? What? Yeah, this is a lot less usable. See, that's what I'm saying. Okay, so for some reason, the corners of the room are also trapped. And there was a trap on the other side of the door? Like, why do we need that many traps? Okay, I agree with his changes so far. Oh, I see. So the first one was a large crossbow trap, but it wasn't loaded. I see. And then... in each corner of the room are small holes that release gas into the room, triggered by opening the door. The gas is odorless, tasteless, and invisible. Jeez, yeah, that's mean. That's mean stuff, man. Okay, but where this module differs, however, is that the original did not have the fire beetles, so this is a new thing. The beetles' abdomens emit a ruddy glow like a torch. Shelves around the walls contain spare parts for the statues atop the pyramid, clay pots holding remnants of lubricant oil, and metalworking tools. A small forge completes the workshop. Okay. So we descend down, and there are fire beetles. Now, if we go to here, there are the giant luminous beetles, which would be the most appropriate choice, I think, for this. They don't have a fire breath, and they don't have armor. Well, they sort of have. They have 15 AC. They're not pushovers. And they're only 1 hit dice. So, yeah, this gives them plus 2 hit points instead. 2d4 bite damage, but does not give them the fire breath, which I think is fair. So we're going to go with 3 giant luminous beetles. They're pretty easy to spot. So I don't think there's any... They're not very good at surprising foes in a dungeon, I'd say. Yeah, I think this is just going to be a straight-up fight, I suppose. We're reasoning that these things are pretty darn hungry down here in this lost pyramid thing. So, yeah. We climb down, and that's the fight. So initiative-wise, obviously, Tarthona is going to be our best bet. She rolled a 1. Excellent. So we will get into a fight. Let's have Nathun open. Should we have him open with Mage Missile? Is this a Mage Missile kind of fight? They are pretty nasty with a 15 AC. He has very slim odds of actually hitting. He has to roll a 14 or higher to hit with his crossbow. So yes, we're going to use Mage Missile. He failed. Fuck it, he's re-rolling. It's ridiculous. There we go. Now, remember, if he gets a great success, he can bump up one number by 50%. Normally, I don't really apply that to, like, dice size, but I think I might have to. It really is the only upgrade, so I guess it becomes a 1d6 for Mage Missile on a great success, which is pretty good. Although it's not that impactful. It increases the average from 2.5 to 3.5, so it's like an extra damage per shot. It's not amazing, but yeah, it's pretty good. He didn't get that, though. So he's just going to shoot one of the beetles with a d4. 2 damage. Okay, and again, these things all have 6 hit points. So one of them's now at 4. I guess Tarthona then is going to spin her way in. And go right up to that injured one and try and slash it with a short sword. So she gets... We always have to add 2 to damage. That's really the only thing. Okay, she got a natural 19 for 3 damage. She's going to roll. And short sword is just d12. Okay, she rolled a 1. That's not very impressive at all. It has 1 hit point left at this point in time. She pinned it. So she sort of got one of her swords stuck through it. We're counting that as prone, I suppose. So I'm going to give her a +2 on her dagger roll. She does have disadvantage. 2 and 2. And then disadvantage on the attack roll. 10 is not a hit, I'm afraid. Nice try. She could use Distracting Dance, I suppose. Because they do 2d4 damage. That's pretty painful if they all hit. Oh, but that's an action. She'd have to use Spinning Defense, which would be fine if Porridge didn't come in. But he's going to be at risk then. How would I rule this, really? Assuming Porridge comes in, and we kill the one that's pinned, and she's got Spinning Defense up. I have to say one of them's going to go for Tarthona, and one of them's going to go for Porridge, so it really would only help her a little bit. But I guess that's better than nothing. Fine, she'll use it. Okay, but now Porridge is going to march in, and he's going to swing at the one that's pinned for a +2. And fuck it, he'll use Lucky Strikes. So he gets +2 to the roll because it's pinned, and he's rolling with advantage. Alright, that is enough to kill it. Excellent. Bludgeoned its head in. Okay, they're gonna go. Yeah, no morale check yet. So one of them is attacking Tarthona, one of them is attacking Porridge. They get +1 for 1 hit dice. So they have disadvantage on Tarthona. That did actually save her 2d4 damage, so okay. And then Porridge +1. That is a hit. He takes 2d4. 5 damage. Let me double check my number. Yes, 2d4, 5 damage. Hey, it's a significant combat now. Good, because we just blew all our abilities. Alright, they also could do minor exploits, both of them. Well, on Porridge. Alright, it's gonna try to drag Porridge to the ground. Not as a trip, but literally just, like, bringing it down to its level. So this is gonna be a strength versus strength. I imagine these things are not weak. If I had to just spitball. This is a 4-hit dice. It gives him 16 strength. That's a bit too much. We'll say 13. So his roll, the Beetle's roll is margin of 0. Porridge's roll is going to be failure. So Porridge gets dragged down to the ground. Doesn't really change much unless we fail initiative, which we very well might. Yes, we did. So now that's bad, because now this Beetle gets to attack Porridge again with a +2 to the roll. But he failed, so thankfully Porridge rolls out of the way. Spinning defense works until the end of the next round. So the same thing's going to try to bite Tarthona again with disadvantage. And failed. Again, she would have gotten hit well, no, okay. It would have been fine, but... it's our turn. Porridge is going to get up. And he's going to try to bludgeon this thing. He's got no advantage on this one, so it's just... yeah, just straight up D20 roll. Miss. Nathun will blast the one on Porridge for 1d4. 3. Okay, that singes quite a bit. That might send him packing. And Tarthona, she'll shift. Well, not literally, but... well, it depends on my Theater of the Mind positioning. No, she can't leave without taking an op. Although technically the op would still be at disadvantage. Due to the way initiative works, you kind of have to word it like this. Like, I can't say until your next turn. Until the start of your next turn. Because if you use this on the tail end of initiative, like the enemies have already gone, and then you win initiative the next turn, this did absolutely nothing, you know? So you have to say until the end of the next round in order to get some benefit out of it. But it does mean if you win initiative one round and lose it the next round, you do get potentially 2 rounds of attacks against you with disadvantage. So that's best case, although you did lose initiative, which is usually bad. So it's a horse apiece. Alright, but she can't... well, yeah, so that's still in effect. So, alright, she's gonna risk the op. And she ate it. So that's 2d4 to her. 4 damage to her. But she's gonna go after the one that Porridge... that Nathun hit. She's swinging the short sword. No bonus to attack. Just the +2 for damage. That is a miss. And now she's going to swing dagger. Very unlikely. Yeah. So she missed twice. And that's all of us. So new initiative. Failure. I am going to roll a morale check, though. They're essentially at half strength now. They have 1 full health, 1 that's half health, and 1 dead. So I'm going to roll a morale check for them. Tales of Argosa gives them a will of 12. These are lesser versions, so we'll give them 10. Okay, they are hungry. They're desperate. So again, one's on Porridge, one's on Tarthona. The one on Tarthona misses. The one on Porridge misses. Thank goodness. Nathun's going to blast the injured one for 1d4. Dead. Very nice. Porridge and Tarthona now outnumber the surviving one. So they get a +1. +1 there, +2 there. Normal roll. That is a hit for 3 damage. We could do a minor exploit. She's going to try to sort of sweep its legs out. And just sort of knock it onto the ground a bit. It's already sort of on the ground, so it's a little bit nebulous. I guess pocket sand is always an option. This pocket sand gives us fucking advantage against it. Yeah, pocket sand's almost always the right answer. Except that they can actually sense movement. They have terrestrial mechanoreception. They can sense vibration in the ground. Spells or effects that would ordinarily cause blindness do not affect the beetle when it's using terrestrial mechanoreception. So yeah, pocket sand not the right option. So I guess she'll just try to like trip it up. So Dex versus Dex. I don't think they have great Dex. 10, yeah. And this is the lesser version, so we'll give it a 9. So she's just rolling Dex. She rolled a 20. Now, Tales of Argosa actually does have some guidelines for what to do if you roll a terrible failure on a minor exploit. GM improvises a setback for a random NPC. Okay, well, okay. I thought it had a little bit more guidance than that, but no, it just says improvises a setback. Fuck it. She herself falls prone. She sweeps a bit too hard with her leg, and she loses her balance and goes down. Which means she's now on the ground with a dagger, but she didn't move this round, so I don't know why that would really affect much. Unless I say also that it gives up her movement. I guess she rolled a 20. She's got to suffer for it. So she can still attack with the dagger, but I think... yeah, she suffers a -2. So she almost never fucking hit. But you never know. Nope, she fumbled. That's the big problem with disadvantage. Due to my house rule where they get a free attack. So now she's prone and it gets a free attack on her at +3. That is a hit for 2d4. 6 damage. She fucking paid the price for that trip. Alright, I think Nathun went, she went, Porridge gets to swing. Or he could try to heal, but he'll just swing. Technically, we don't really outnumber it because she's on the ground. He missed. I have to check the initiative. I don't remember. Right. It was Nathun and we failed. Okay, new initiative. Tarthona. Excellent. She's going to stand up now. She's going to swing this fucking sword. She misses. She swings the dagger. She misses. This is not good. Fighter would have had no problems here. Porridge swings his mace. Oh yeah, we are outnumbering again. Wouldn't have made a difference for her, but we'll give him the extra +1. He misses. Mage missile. I don't even have to roll. D4. 2 damage. Alright. It's down. It's now outnumbered 3-1, and it's injured. So now it's going to get another morale check. 9 or under. Okay. Desperation makes fools of us all. It's going to try to continue to eat Tarthona. So, +1. Miss. Okay, new initiative. Failure. It's going to eat Tarthona again. Crit. That's 8 damage and she's down. Unless I want to attempt a rescue. Alright, we'll attempt a rescue. Why wouldn't I? Porridge is going to try to... I guess he's just going to try to block it with his shield, you know. Just like sort of dive in front of her and block it with his shield. I'm going to make that yeah, probably Dex. Although the initiative is already like determining if he can be fast enough to get there. So it's honestly mostly a straight up luck roll. Which I assume is always an option. I never remember where rescues are. Right, I was there, yeah. Makes a luck check, often modified by dex strength, etc. Alright, I'm just gonna say it's straight up luck. But I'll give him a +1 to the roll. But he has to succeed on initiative first. He did. All right. We're just gonna do luck +1. Success. Okay. He does block the very heavy hit. Yeah. I mean, I could argue it splinters his shield. It was a crit that he's rescuing, but I like to encourage rescues, and you already have to succeed on like 2 separate rolls, so fuck it. Okay. So it's our turn now. Nathune's going to blast it again. It has 4 hit points, I believe. Down to 2 hit points. She's going to swing her short sword. Miss. Damn close, though. Miss. The mace coming out. Miss. Fuck me. New initiative from Nathune. Success. I think it's over. Yeah, there it is. Mage Missile. A Mage Missile is like the only thing that did almost anything. There was like, what, 18 total hit points in that fight? And I think he did like 16 of it, really. Tarthona didn't land a single hit as far as I saw. Jesus. Do we have another Bruce on our hands? Character that should be good but isn't? Okay, well that certainly was a fight. We can't argue otherwise. So that's 45 XP on the table. Oh yeah, so it technically said our mounts are all dead, which means Gunther died at some point. Okay. We're just gonna rule that I haven't bought Gunther yet. I'm not erasing Gunther. We'll get him eventually after this. Right. Let's short rest for sure. Excellent. Tarthona definitely wants hit points, and she wants her flow back. So we're gonna get hit points and flow back. Now this is something that Lego does fairly often, and I'm not quite sure if I should allow it. But I don't think there's really that much problem with it. Basically, he'll often use like his lay on hands ability before he short rests. Like right now, he'll use it. I don't think it's that bad. And it's especially not that bad for Cleric, because a Cleric could fail the spellcasting check. And you still have to then recover it. So even if I had cast it during the battle, I'd still have to recover it, you know, like no matter what. Like I don't think it's that broken of a thing to do. And it's pretty quick. I mean, it takes like 6 seconds, and a short rest is like 3 minutes. So, whatever. I'm fine with it. So we're going to use Divine Spellcasting real quick. And roll Cure Light Injury. Great success. Excellent. So the reason I don't usually allow increasing the dice number is because it doesn't make any sense. Unless I just have a blanket rule where you can bump up the dice number by 1. So a D6 to a D8, a D8 to a D10, D10 to a D12. I guess that's the simplest way to do it. Not a 50% bump. I mean, the D4 to a D6 was, but that's like... That's it. That's the only number where that works. Yeah, I'll allow it. I'll allow that rule. New rule coming into play. I guess that gets trickier once you have like 4d6 and it becomes 4d8. But no, I guess, because normally I would allow you to bump that up to 66. Ooh, that's a good question. What's a bigger average? 66, the average is 21. 4d8, the average is 18. So no, that would actually be the dumber choice if you went with the d8. So I already have a better rule in place for that already. All right, anyways. Sure, so he does 1d8 plus 1 heal on Tarthona. 7. She's back to full. Okay. And now he's going to take a short rest. All right, he got a great success and a failure. He could use up one of his 3 rerolls to try to get... Yeah, because he wants a lot of things back, really. He wants Lucky Strike back, he wants Divine Spellcasting back, and he wants hit points back. I'm definitely going to use a reroll. All right, so I think hit points for 1. Even though it's only 2 hit points. And then it's Divine Spellcasting or Lucky Strikes. And I think having the spell is probably better. So we're going to give him that back. Okay. And then Nathun just needs 1 success. Well, he actually used a reroll. That's right. But we're going to give his spell back, of course. Okay. Good, good, good. I gotta say, this is a very cozy session. It's snowing outside my window. I got the fireplace going. I got the cats here basking in the warmth. Listening to some good tunes and exploring a lost pyramid. I wish our characters were more competent, but it is what it is. Alright, anyways. We are going to search this room. So that's a torch. And that's going to be a wandering monster check. We are okay. So we find metalworking tools. It's a bit vague, I suppose, as to what a metalworking tool is, but it contains a forge, so I assume there's hammers. Maybe there's a small anvil. Bellows. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what metalworking tools entirely consists of, but probably not anything we're really interested in. Spare parts for the statues. I don't think we... Maybe if I had an artificer. And then remnants of lubricant oil is pretty useless, so nothing really in the room. We have a door to the north, door to the southwest, door to the southeast. Let us roll a d3. North, southwest, southeast. Southwest it is. Arthona will listen at the door. Doesn't hear anything. So we start crawling down that way. And this is a secret door as far as I can... Yes. Okay. Secret door. We are going to make this a group perception check. We have 3 characters, so group checks are back in vogue. So 2 of the 3 have to succeed. He does not have detection, but he did succeed. He does not have detection, and he failed. So that means Tarthona just has to get 1 success here, and it's all good. Nope, terrible failure. All right. We could use a reroll on that. She does have decent odds. Yeah, I would say, as far as my experience DMing, I think perception checks are probably the most commonly things I've heard rerolls used for, because players are pretty paranoid about either something about to ambush them or something valuable they're missing. So, yes, we will do that again. There we go. All right, we do spot a sliver of an outline of a door here in the hallway. Very sneaky. We will listen at this secret door. Ooh, crit. Okay. So this room has 7 sturges in it. And it doesn't really say, it just says 7 sturges, but I'm imagining they have like a nest, you know, up in the corner of the room or something. That's kind of what I'm picturing. Otherwise, what are they all just doing in here, jerking off? So, you know, I usually envision sturges from, like, if I can... Yeah. this. This is what I always envisioned. So I always interpreted them more as like giant mosquitoes, but I think this definition is kind of warped over time a little bit. They're definitely meant to be mammals. They're warm-blooded, I think. Monstrous cross between a large bat and an oversized mosquito, or an oversized mosquito and a bird. Yeah, they're furry. Anyways, this is how Axe depicts it, which is obviously a lot different from what we just saw, but it's a cross between a bat and an owl. It just happens to have, like, a pointed beak that it drinks blood with, and that's where it sort of resembles a mosquito. I mean, it's not great that the image here is dead on, so it's kind of hard to tell what its beak looks like. But as a hooked beak, it sounds really painful for drinking your blood. So, yeah, I suppose that's fair. They have lightless vision, night vision. They hunt with echolocation. Noiselessness blinds them. Wow. Cool. So anyways, yeah. They're gonna have a nest. Well, no. Yeah, so that's I think that's my sort of problem is that I picture them more as giant mosquitoes. So I picture like a wasp nest or something, but really they're more like bats. I think they just sort of hang upside down. They hang upside down by day and hunt by night. So really, I think we probably wouldn't hear much. Maybe like a slight rustling of what could be a wings or something, like as they sort of shift in their sleep on the ceiling. She rolled a 1, so I mean, yeah, I'll be fairly generous. There's something living in there, possibly flying, or possibly winged at the very least. Shit. Yeah, we don't have many options. 7 is a lot. I wouldn't know that. And that's always the thing. And it's a secret door, so I guess we want to get in there. But yeah, we're probably just going to go shock and awe and kick in the door and burst in, and then she's probably going to use Distracting Dance. And Nathune's probably going to have to bust out Mage Missile again. Yeah, I guess. Alright. Shock and awe, here we go. She charges through the door. And should I be generous? That is a surprise. I would normally give her an attack, so I'll let her do Distracting Dance immediately. Okay, so she's gonna use Flow. So now, obviously, bursting through the door woke them all up, so they all can see her, and they all have echolocation, I suppose. Well, that's a good question, actually. Would they be distracted? No, they're not visually... No, they're not. It doesn't do anything. That's really funny. Because I mean, I guess an informed, educated player that knows his shit would burst in, would see that these are Sturges, and that they navigate by echolocation. And would not bother using Distracting Dance. I guess that's sort of the thing. It's like, theoretically, you could have a player that has memorized the entire monster manual, And unless the DM is going to just come up with new monsters that aren't in there, they could have all this knowledge. And they could not metagame and say their character might not know that these are Sturges that navigate with echolocation. Fuck it. I'm giving Tarthona an animal lore roll, so she can just roll intelligence. Alright, she doesn't know, so she's going to use Distracting Dance. It's a waste, doesn't do anything, but again, I think most players might not know that they navigate through echolocation and it wouldn't do anything. Because I think probably not even most monster manuals mention that. Yeah, like this doesn't mention that. Most games aren't going to really go into that. Maybe it says they're capable of seeing in areas of total darkness. Which, I guess that would be the same thing, really. That's the whole point. The 5e version gives them dark vision 60 feet. Yeah, that I wouldn't say is completely indicative that they're not based on eyesight. Because creatures that can just see in the dark also have dark vision, so that's not the same thing. So Axe, of course, is more specific here. And anything that would ordinarily blind a creature will not affect it. So they don't hunt based, you know, it's like Daredevil, I guess. Well, I don't... now I'm questioning it, because now that I've mentioned Daredevil, like, he still sees things. He could still be distracted by it. The echolocation, like, it's still a distracting thing. Okay, no, I'm going to allow it, actually, now that I mentioned Daredevil. Change my whole thought. Because it's different than... If I had used it on the Fire Beetles, that would have done nothing. Because they based everything on tremors and just vibrations. So that... It's not distracting visually at all. They don't base anything on visuals. These things still sort of have a visual. Based on what I understand echolocation to be. Now I have to locate objects by emitting sounds and interpreting the returning echoes. Build a mental map of their surroundings. Fucking hell if I know. I think Daredevil's the only... the only sort of interpretation I can accept here, because I mean, how do I know what a bat sees or not sees? Right, they get, like, an impression of the object being there and the object moving and everything. I'm allowing Distracting Dance. Fuck it. These things have half a hit dice, so they have, like, 2 or 3 hit points on average. They have a will score of 5. So they're almost certainly going to fail. This is an abysmal roll for them. They're very easily distracted. I could give them a bonus for echolocation, I suppose, but again, I still think it's pretty distracting. So that's basically they need to roll a 1. Yeah, basically they need to roll a 1. So 70-20 if there's any 1s. There was 1-1. He's not having it. He's not distracted. He's going to go straight for Nathun. Alright, let's roll initiative. Excellent. Okay, so we got our full turns here. Yeah, he's going to use Mage Missile again, because he can just keep popping them. Great success. It's a D6. Excellent. He's going to shoot 1 for D6. 5. Fuck it. It's going to be the one flying towards him, I suppose. Why not? Not that the player would probably know that. I suppose that's not fair. But hey. I'll take what I can get. Alright, so that one explodes. Porridge is going to swing at 1. With his mace. They have, what, 12 AC, 2 damage. I'll take it. That's a kill. And Tarthona's going to swing her short sword at 1. That is also a kill. Excellent. We're down to 4 of them. And she's going to roll her dagger with disadvantage. Fumble. Alright, it's going to counterattack with +0. Well, they outnumber us, but... yeah, they outnumber us, so +3. Alright, miss. They get to go. They lost 3 of 7, so it's not quite half. We won't do a morale check just yet. Dumb animals, I think, are more likely to be sort of attracted by the distracting dance compared to intelligent creatures, which is just see her sort of spinning her blades and being like, fuck that, I'm going over here. So I think based on the intelligence and my decision, they're all going to attack Tarthona. Oh yeah, which did influence that. So they all outnumber her, so they would have... oh, yeah, so they would have +2 to the roll, but distracting dance, -4, so -2 total for their rolls. 4d20. Miss, 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 hit. One of them hits for 1d3 damage, 2 damage, and latches onto her. So now it can just automatically deal 1d3 as long as it's there. I do think there is a risk to hitting Tarthona, but not with Mage Missile, so we're fine. Assuming we get to go immediately. And we're going to roll initiative. Porridge, do not let me down, baby! Yeah, boy! Alright, Nathoon's going to Mage Missile the one on Tarthona. Pew pew! And it explodes all over her face. Lovely. That's down to 3 then. She's going to swing a short sword at another one. Miss. Swings the dagger at another one. Miss. She'll never hit anything with that dagger. The mace comes down. Kill. They're down to 2. That is a morale check. And remember, they have a will of 5. Yeah. Alright, they very much failed. Strong fail. Even if I had given them a boost because this was their nest. They're out of there. So they fly out the open door and into the darkness. Combat over. Significant combat? Technically, she did take a tiny amount of damage, and we did use 1 resource. Alright, but just because I want to get through this adventure without dying. Double failure. She's not getting shit back. Porridge. 1 success. He can get back Lucky Strike, or hit points, or a reroll. We'll take Lucky Strikes. Nathoon. Double success. He gets back a reroll and Spellcraft. He's perfectly back to normal. Excellent. Alright. We're going to search the room then, although it's a relatively small room. I don't know if I want to spend 10 minutes. No, I think it's a pretty small room and it's pretty obvious. We find 4 glittering gems lying in the shards of an amphora. We're at the total of 1,700 silver. The original module says the gems are worth 100 gold, 100 gold, 500 gold, 1,000 gold. So 1,700 gold. Well, that did say it converted to silver standards, so yeah. Alright, 1,700 gold. Phenomenal. These are all going to weigh 0.25. So we'll have Porridge take it. Gems. 100, 100, 500, 1,000. Crazy big money. So I suppose altogether they take up a slot, although that still seems like a lot, but whatever. Okay, and that means on the list, 1,700. I also killed 5 Sturges if I want to be anal about it, which means 30 more XP. Okay, well, we're getting close to a third of a level, and that was a big secret treasure room, so, you know, let us continue on. We're gonna go up to this door now. That'll be another 10 minutes or so total. And we listen at that door. Success. Do we hear anything? No. We go in. It's a big room with a lot of crates. We are going to search it. We find nothing. We're going to roll a random encounter check. Nothing. We go on our merry way. We go all the way up to 5. We listen at 5. Great success. Ooh. Yes, there is something in here. There is a Kinesidian in a pheasant mask. I think at this point we need to figure out what a Kinesidian is and why I should care. The Kinesidians have lived in the pyramid for more than 1,000 years, lost in the dreams that Zargon sends to them. All Kinesidians... Kinesidian... No, I'm pronouncing it wrong. Kinesidians. That's it. Kinesidians are completely committed to their delusions, though some delusions are closer to reality than others. All of them wear masks at all times, and over time take on the role associated with that mask. Each Kinesidian has worn every mask in the pyramid at some time in the last 1,000 years. They can navigate the pyramid perfectly well in the dark through a combination of memory and their vivid hallucinations. They speak Common Greek, a transitional language between ancient and modern Greek. Okay, what does the original module say they speak? Oh, DM's background. Infravision, stylized masks, they're a dying race. Doesn't really mention their language at all. Doesn't really say, so I assume they just speak common, really. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it says... The bickering between the three factions or attempts to restore sanity to the society give the DM the chance to add character interaction to the adventure. DM and players can have a lot of fun with the plots and feuding of the factions. If this is done, the DM should plan in advance what the faction members may say or do if the party tries to talk, attack, or wait to see what the NPCs do first. And you can join one of the factions, and they may accept you as members. So that sure suggests to me that they speak a regular language. So fine, they speak common. They'll only generally fight if strongly provoked or when driven to do so by their delusions. And then we have 12 different encounter options. Alright, that's fine and dandy. So she hears something on the other side, muttering under its breath, "Any minute now." And it's staring at 6 sealed barrels, inside of which are highly unstable Greek fire. Okay, so it sounds like something is waiting in ambush. We don't have many great ranged options outside of his mage missile. But if it's waiting in ambush for us, it's kind of hard to surprise it. So I guess our best ranged option is the crossbow. So Tarthona, no, we're gonna have Porridge yank open the door from one side. Tarthona's gonna be like on the wall, ready to rush in after Nathun shoots the crossbow. So he's got his crossbow ready. If he sees anything, he's gonna shoot as soon as the door is open. Okay, so I'm gonna give him a surprise shot here on this thing. Not a surprise shot. He's not gonna get advantage, but he's gonna get a free shot before we roll initiative. This thing probably knows we're here. I mean, it can see in the dark. It's all dark. And we have a torch, so it can see our light approach and all that. Like, stealth is always going to be hard. But it doesn't know when exactly we're going to yank open the door. So we're going to get a free shot. No surprise. All right. All right, he missed wildly. He's really not good with the crossbow, so it just slams into the wall way above this thing's head. And now we have to roll initiative. Failure. Okay. I'm not really sure. I mean, these are barrels. This is just like a normal guy. I mean, he's kind of muscular, but throwing one of these barrels seems really tricky. What does the original module say for this encounter? Oh, this one has sprites in there. Okay, not an encounter at all, really. It's just you get to meet some sprites and have some fun with them. Okay, so this guy's in a pheasant mask. What does that tell me about him? Not much. Not much. Okay. Would he throw one? Would he try to throw one? Maybe that's the question. Would he try to throw one? A barrel filled with Greek fire. What exactly is Greek fire and how heavy is it? Powerful incendiary weapon. Is it a powder? Is it an oil? No one knows. It's based on petroleum mixed with resins, comparable in composition to modern napalm. Okay. How heavy is napalm? Okay. It's just got to be heavy. How heavy is napalm? That's not a question Googled too often. 8.9 pounds per gallon. Okay. If we assume this is a barrel filled with napalm, that sounds awful. I'm sure it's not as potent or anything like that or whatever, but I gotta go to ChatGPT on this one. Let's see. How many gallons could a small barrel hold? Let's go with that. Yeah, we need. What the fuck is a small barrel? I don't know. Typical oak wine or beer barrel holds 59. Smaller casks might hold. Okay, let's say it's a 10-gallon barrel. So that's 90 pounds. I guess that's not outrageous, right? Throwing a 90-pound thing. It's pretty outrageous. It's not going to be easy for him, but it's maybe possible. If we say he's a bit... I don't know why he would be muscular. He's like living in a lost pyramid. Like, I imagine them being pretty scrawny, to be honest. But it is fantasy. Let's give him a strength of 13. And he needs a great success. So he has to roll, what, a 6 or under? Where's the roll table, actually? So 13, yeah, 6 or under he needs on a d20. Okay, he crit failed. So he lifts up the barrel and he brings it up over his head, and then he like teeters backwards and he slips and it falls backwards and crashes. which means there's a 5 in 6 chance that it'll explode. Yep, it explodes. Probably along with all the other barrels of highly unstable Greek fire. 15-foot radius. I assume these are 10-foot squares, because that would make the most sense. So it's 20 feet, so we really shouldn't be affected or anything, but... yeah, I mean, we're going to get maybe singed a little, and then we're going to feel the heat and the pressure. I mean, it's probably not pleasant, but I'm not going to require anything. He crit failed, so that's his mistake. So let's say 6 times 3, 18d6 damage. Yeah, so this. Yeah, he takes about 59 damage. And just disintegrates, along with anything else that was in the room. Which was nothing, but now we can't use any of that Greek fire, so... yeah. That was funny. And that'll happen. And it's like, yeah, you didn't get burned, and... you know, there was no risk or anything to you, but... I'm not giving XP for that, and you don't get any of the Greek fire, so... would have been nicer to just snipe him in the head right away, but oh well. It's done. We're just going to close up that door and call it a day. That was very loud, though, so I'm going to roll a random encounter check. Okay. Now, there's 3 circles on here. I don't know what that is. And it's not labeled at all on this map. God, this layout is very different. But okay, 5A, so it is on here. Pottery jars. 3 pottery jars, 4 feet tall. First contained sand. Others, which used to store water, are now dry and empty. Contents of the jars were to be used if a fire broke out in the fireworks room. Okay, well, we'll search those. It brings us down to 10 minutes on the torch. And we have another door here, so we'll listen. Nope, we have no idea what's in there. It's a rotten room. Contains a green slime. An acrid smell comes from a green slime which covers the whole floor. In the corridor outside are 3 M4 filled with sand. Oh, it does mention it. A green slime covering the whole floor. Okay, so we open the door and quite visibly we see this green slime covering the whole floor. And we also don't see any other doors. I think we're just going to close the door. Yeah, fuck that. Okay, we close the door. Now we're going to go all the way back then to the workshop. So that's going to take 10 minutes. We got to relight a new torch. Back to an hour. And we got 2 other doors. Let's roll a D2. Okay, it's going to be southwest door. We listen. Not you. What am I doing? Okay, well, what a waste of a 1. We don't hear anything, so we keep going. We come to a door. We'll listen. Doesn't really matter. There's nothing there. It's a staircase. So we open the door. We see it's a staircase leading down. We'll put a pin in that and keep going over here. I'm going to take the torch down again. And we'll listen at door number 6. I'm going to make one other... Okay. No encounters. Alright, she does not hear a damn thing. Which is fine, because there's nothing to hear. We go in. On the floor is the body of a Kynodician in a bronze ibis mask. His arm is swollen and purple. The room has sparse furnishings for a single person, such as a bed, desk, etc. A wooden symbol of a lightning bolt hangs over the bedhead. Swollen and purple. Okay, I'm gonna roll an apothecary. Yeah, we're gonna have Nathun roll an apothecary to see if he can identify what this is. He sure can. He knows he's seen this many a time. This is a sting from a killer bee, which would strongly suggest to us there's killer bees nearby. Killer bees are going to be quite a bit more dangerous than the sturges were. Damn, if I had like a hand drill, if we could drill a hole in this door, he could just look through it and mage missile and kill them all. That's the power of that mage missile. That's what I'm talking about. Like, all you have to have is a line of sight within 360 feet, and things just can die. Unless they can get into cover or something. And a lot of creatures like that aren't going to realize stuff, and they'll just fucking die. They'll buzz about the room and die. We could try just cracking the door open, but that's a lot riskier. I don't think I can really... I mean, maybe with her dagger or something, she could slowly gouge out a hole. It didn't really describe doors in here, but probably the original module does. They were kind of obsessed with that shit. Most doors will be stone slabs that push inward to open. Okay. All right, well then that's out. We're going to have to crack the door open. It's also going to be pitch dark in there, so we have to crack the door open and toss our light in. A huge beehive hangs from the ceiling over a locked cage. The bees will not attack anyone wearing a mask of Zeus. Honey drips from the hive into a golden dish inside the cage. Other treasures lie around the dish to a total of 1,600 silver, or 1,600 gold. The honey has healing properties. Drinking a dish full heals 1d8 hit points. The hive can fill the dish once per day, and destroying the hive yields a second dose. Okay. I think for sure, no matter what, we'll have time to crack open the door and throw our torch into the room. There is always a risk, though, of throwing the torch on the ground and it goes out. I don't remember what... Probably Shadow Dark, but I don't know if that was in a rule book or that was just a discussion. But there should be a simple roll for dropping a torch. This is for D&D, though. They're going to be way too... way too lenient. This person says if you drop it, it automatically goes down 1. That's probably the easiest, nicest way to do it. So sure, we'll do it that way. So, right. Was there a... like, it's a stone slab. So it doesn't have any handle, so I don't know how you close it again, which is sort of the problem. You have to push it from the other side in this case. That complicates our plans quite a bit. You'll have to reach around and pull it closed just a crack. We're assuming then Nathun knows how big a killer bee is. Right, they were about a foot long. Yeah, but this is dangerous. Due to the way the door works, it's a big stone slab. Depends on where I put the hive exactly, on whether he has any line of sight or not. It's kind of risky. The fact it's a stone slab complicates things. There's no way to really look into this room without exposing yourself and having the door open. Now, granted, we could use a stick. If you look at the map here, you look at this nice angle. If we push the door open, like from the side with a stick or something, or we use... He's got a staff, so we use his staff, 5-foot staff, and, you know, a Tarthona stands here and just slowly creeps the door open. Well, first, yeah, we're going to throw the torch in, just so we have the light in there. And hopefully it doesn't disturb the bees to, like, charge out of the room. You know, they're bees, right? Shouldn't be too much of a bother. She pushes it open, and then we go back all the way to this corner, and we should have, like, a basically perfect line of sight into this room, and he just, from the dark, just starts zapping the bees. I think that's pretty fair. So, as a DM, I just have to determine points of failure. Well, I suppose opening the door and throwing the torch could aggravate them immediately, and they just start flying towards us, but I think that's pretty unlikely. I think that's kind of unlikely. I mean, they are killer bees. It says prone to attack anything they deem a threat. They are pretty territorial. So, again, we're giving Nathun knowledge of all this. So, really, we're just cracking the door open just enough for him to, like, get his hand through and just toss the torch a little bit into the room. Like, we don't even have to really toss it into the room, to be honest. It's not that big of a room. So we're just cracking it open just to take a look, and then he'll, like, drop the torch right here, and we should be able to see the hive. So I can't imagine that's a point of failure. When we stand here and crack open the door all the way, no one will be in sight of the bees, so they really shouldn't react to that as a threat. I wouldn't think so. And then, from here, where we shoot them, again, animals, you know, they don't, like, communicate like people would. Like, if there were bandits, they'd be like, we're under attack, and they would dive for cover or something. But bees or animals just... No, I mean, they'll all just get zapped. It might take a little bit of time. If they start sort of flying around or, you know, going behind, you know, into the hot, and, like, I don't know. It might take some time. They all only have, like, 2 hit points, so the magic missile is pretty much guaranteed to kill them in one shot. The queen bee, however, has 9 hit points, and that one could be trickier. The axe spell doesn't really state it, and I don't know how I would really rule it, which is a problem, because I kind of do need to figure out a ruling for this. But basically, it's if you get hit by magic missile, do you automatically know where it came from? Yes, it's not invisible. It's a bolt of arcane energy, which is fine It's just, would a bee or an animal be able to recognize where that came from? I guess we'll give the queen bee the benefit there. So that's the major risk, and it's kind of unavoidable. I'm not going to be able to kill the queen bee in one shot. So once we shoot her, she's going to come flying out towards us. And that's when we have problems. But the rest, I think we can just say happens. I really can't think of a... I should be able to think of a problem here. But that's not really the DM's job. My job is to just think logically of all the parts involved and would anything go wrong. I can't really imagine. I don't want to just come up with something just to fuck over a plan, so it seems solid. So, alright, we toss the torch, or drop the torch. It goes down to 4. She pushes open the door. We retreat through the darkness into this corner, and he's now going to cast his Mage Missile. Okay, it's not a D6. So we start blasting, really. Like I said, I don't think there's any problem, so I think we really just kill all the killer bees. And now I will say, this is probably perhaps not something you'd come up with playing in a normal group. I am spoiled somewhat by having access to the map and having access to foreknowledge and stuff. I think we might have creaked open the door. Well, we did get the foreknowledge, and we earned it, knowing that there's killer bees around, possibly in the next room. So had we just said, okay, there's probably going to be a hive of killer bees in the next room, what do we do? I think this plan is not altogether impossible to come up with. If you're the type of DM that gives your players like the actual map and you just sort of uncover the map as you go, I think it would have been a lot easier to come up with this plan of shooting from a distance. If you were more freeform or something and the players just had to do their own maps, they probably could have asked a question like, would there be an angle here looking into this next room from further back? In which case you probably would just say, yes, there is. I'm picturing the hive being exactly where this number 7 is also, which helped a lot with this angle. All right, so now he's going to hit the queen bee. So we just have to roll a d4, and then it's going to start flying towards us. And I imagine it's pretty fucking fast. 50 feet flying. So it's going to get to him in like one turn. He does 3 damage. So it's down to 6 hit points. And now we can roll initiative, because now it matters. Okay, great success. He's going to do another d4. Okay, it's down to 2 hit points, but it's going to fly directly towards him. And I'm pretty sure, like, say, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Yeah, it can charge at him. And it will. It's going to give it everything it's got. 9 hit points means it's a 2-hit dice creature. Stats don't actually give, or the monster manual doesn't give stats for the queen bee of being different. So maybe 2 hit dice is a little iffy, but it gave it 9 hit points, so it's obviously much bigger. And if this were Cataclysm, yeah, it would be a big motherfucker. So we're giving it 2 hit dice. So that's a total of +4 on its attack roll, which is pretty bad for Nathun. Yes, very much hit. Okay, so it's going to do 1d3 damage, and then he has to save or die. He takes 2 damage, and now he has to roll Luck, Constitution, or die, which is not good for him. He gets no benefits. This is an Oracle roll, like I said. I'm not... Poison is never going to be ticking down luck, unless it's a trap. And roll. He failed by 1. Damn, he's going to re-roll. Failed. Fuck. Well, we could... I didn't say this. I didn't specify, and I really should have. Why didn't I specify? Because I knew this was going to happen. I set this all up. Why didn't I have Tarthona with a readied attack? As soon as the bee came within striking distance. Do I want to retcon? It's either that or I have to have Tarthona attempt to rescue. Oracle, am I allowed to retcon? No, go fuck yourself, it just said. Alright, then Tarthona has to attempt to rescue on him. Because you can only do a reroll once, apparently. It's not giving me the option to reroll again. Only one reroll may be used per action. Yep, very clear. Alright, she's going to attempt a rescue. She's just going to pull him out of the way of this flying charge. So here's her initiative. Fucking hell. Nothing. He's dead. I mean, there's nothing I can do now. He's not necessarily dead, but it's not looking great for him. He drops to 0. Convulsing and all that fun shit. Right, and it says for the killer bees that they die after stinging, but the queen bee, not the same. Okay, new initiative. So now it goes to fucking Porridge. He failed. So now it's going to try to strike Tarthona. It just gets +2 to the roll. 18 is a hit. So now she's going to have to save or die. I don't think she can do anything different. So she's rolling Luck Con. She failed and is going to reroll. Oh my god. Oh my god. This thing has 2 hit points left. And it just dropped 2 characters. And now it's up to Porridge to swing his mace. And he missed completely. Holy shit. He probably should have used Lucky Strikes on that one. Alright, we'll use it. I don't think I'd normally allow after the roll, but sure. He hits? No? Yeah, he does. He does. Okay, he kills it. He squashes it. Okay, I only have 1 Cure Light injury, so I guess we'll put it on... Who needs it more? Nathun needs it more. Because it gives a +2 to the death save. And she has no rerolls. Oh, fuck. Okay, well, he terrible failed it anyways. So we'll re-roll. He actually gets +3 on it now. There we go. Alright, so Nathun gets to roll a death save with +2 because of the healing. He's going to use his reroll, of course. Okay, he survived. And now Tarthona has no bonus and no rerolls. She rolled a 1. Excellent. Alright, so they're back up to 1. And then they can all short rest. Hit points. Hit points. Short rest. Excellent. Probably ability of... Oh yeah, I didn't use Divine Spell. Okay, so Divine Spell casting. And do I want Lucky Strike or a reroll? Lucky Strike, okay. And then Nathun. 1 success. Fuck. That puts him in a real bad spot, but he needs the hit points. Okay. Nathun's practically worthless right now, but we're alive. Jesus. I don't even think that was worth that much XP, really. There's 5 bees, so that's 30. And then the queen bee is worth... I don't know. Not much. 20. So 50 XP for that. Jesus. Fucking Queen Bee. What do we... Let's see. In the... what room is this? 7? Treasure room? Lock cage holds the treasure of the Brotherhood of Gorm. Treasure is guarded by 5 killer bees. Blah, blah, blah. So that doesn't even include the queen. The original module didn't even include the queen. Treasure line on the bottom of the cage is 2,000 silver, 500 gold, 2 gems each worth 100, and 1 piece of jewelry worth 700. Jesus. Okay, but... Well, so I guess there's the question of getting into the cage. We have no traps and locks, we have no thieves' tools, so we have to actually break this thing down. Which we can do. I mean, he's got a nice heavy mace. He'll get in eventually. But that is going to take some time and make a lot of noise. So I'm going to roll... We're going to tick down the torch again. And I'm going to roll 2 random encounter checks. 1, 2. Alright, we're fine. There doesn't seem to be anything wandering around this dungeon. Alright, so he breaks it down and we get at the goodies. 1,600 versus... This would be 1,200, 1,400. Yep, 1,600. Okay, and we'll take that because this says treasure's worth that amount, so why not just take this info? The problem is the 2,000 silver. That takes up quite a few slots. No one really has enough slots to hold all 2,000. I guess Nathun does. Sure. Plus 500 gold, so that's 2,500. Well, 2,000 silver, 500 gold, meaning 6 slots taken up by dummy coins, dummy thick coins. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4, 5, 6. I don't really have my players differentiate between battle gear and pack gear. I don't really care. But I sort of have to for this. For using Foundry. Alright, so now he's loaded with coins. We also have the 2 gems, each worth 100. He can add that, because that'll be... That'll just be 0.5. And then the 1 piece of jewelry worth 700. And we'll just make that 0.25. Okay. And all together then, that's going to add 1,600 XP. Okay, that's getting pretty good now. We've all almost nearly died, but... It's about 3,400 XP now. So we're over halfway to level 2. It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. And the more characters you have, the more gold you gotta find. Compared to the Tales of Argosa method, which is not dependent at all on how many. I mean, it's always equal. Whether you have 1 or whether you have 10, everybody gets 2 XP. We also find the honey. So there's a dish full of honey that heals 1d8. And of course, we're going to destroy the hive. So we get a second dose of this 1d8. I don't think we're going to use it at all. Just yet. We'll call this Royal Honey. And this is going to take up 2 5 slots each. But it could be really useful for those death saving throws because it counts as healing. But it's good. It's good stuff. I'm scared to go on, but we must. There's 2 doors. We going left or we going right? Whoops. We're going left. We listen at the door. Although, if there's anything in there, it's very well ready for us, isn't it? 11 is the Brotherhood Barracks. Oh, God. Okay. So they are very ready for us because we've been smashing that thing. Probably they should have just come out, but... yeah, they probably should have, right? They're all about Zeus. These bees don't hurt anyone connected wearing the mask of Zeus. This was probably like their bees. Alright, well... Brotherhood of Zeus are devoted to defeating the worshippers of Zargon, establishing their leader, Canadius' control over the pyramid. Yeah. I mean, hard to say, really, but we're saying that those were their bees. So they probably should have come out, but they didn't really know until we were just smashing it, and now they're like, oh, shit. Had I read ahead, then yes, I should have done that. But I didn't, so we're not going to have them come out now. Although I guess I could. Nothing's really changed except I picked up the loot. So, fuck it. We'll change it. So while we're smashing the thing very loudly, the door flies open and five men wearing golden masks depicting Zeus and wearing white robes come rushing out. Oh, they also have bronze breastplates on and carrying swords. 1d8 swords. So they're like two-handing long swords. Well, that's a problem. So normally, yeah, they might talk to us. Like, had we just walked into the room, they probably would talk to us. But they look around and they see all the bee corpses. They see Porridge smashing open the cage. I don't think they're too friendly, so we're going to go straight into combat again. Major exploits are going to have to get churned out here. Alright, we go. Nathune's got nothing for spellcasting, so he's just going to fire his crossbow straight away. That looks good. 4 damage is probably a kill. They have 1 hit dice, so 4 hit points. As leather, so that means they have 12 AC. So yeah, he hits and kills one. Straight out, the first one through the door, just... dead. Excellent. Tarthona then will... she has no flows, so that is what it is. She's going to leap in with her short sword. She gets +2 to the damage roll. That is also a hit and a kill. Major exploit. Do we want her to do a little bit of blending action? Fuck yeah, we're going to blend. She's going to try to slice open 2 more. So luck dex at -2. Terrible failure. No rerolls. Fine. It is what it is. She's going to try to stab another one with her dagger, though. Oh, another kill! Finally, the dagger does work. Yes, so she rams the dagger into someone's chin. 3 of them have dropped instantly, and Porridge is going to clamber over with his mace and try to bludgeon one across the head. Fumble. Alright, they counterattack. They have +1 to the roll. They miss. But they do get to go. This could prompt a morale check, I suppose. I don't think they're... Do they have morale numbers? Morale of 8. Yeah, pretty standard morale. So they might decide to live to fight another day. So we're going to have them roll, and we're going to give them a morale of 10. All right, they say fuck this, and they're going to burst out of there. I'm going to give an op to Porridge and Tarthona on 2 separate guys. So Porridge is op. Natural 19, kill. Right across the back of the skull. Skull fragments splattering the wall. And Tarthona also just fucking decapitates him, really. Crazy. Okay, dropped all 5, no problem. That's how I want combat to go. Now, that was not a significant combat, but it was a successful one nonetheless. Okay, XP for that's going to be pretty minimal. 50. We'll take it. They have leather armor, and they have long swords, but I don't think that appeals to any of us. Yeah. So, it is what it is. They also have their gold masks, and it actually says here, each mask is worth 100 silver. That's not bad. Weight to value is not stellar, because I'm going to make each of those weigh take 1 slot. So, yeah, I mean, it's strictly worse than, like, some of these gems that we're picking up. 100 gold. We could take some. We could actually put some of them on if we wanted to. But I think without the outfit, we're not really going to fool anybody. $100 gold. It's a glossary of what a stalagmite is? Wow. Look at that. Yeah, I don't know if it mentions anywhere in here the value of the masks. So that might be something you just made up. I don't know. Hard to say. Right, 100 gold. Do I want to take any? Well, Parthona has 2.5 slots. She has 5.5 slots available. Okay, she probably could take a couple. Now, technically, like, yeah, it only gives us XP if we get it to civilization and we carry it out. Golden masks of Zeus. 100 gold pieces times 2. Okay, we'll take 2 of them. So I'll write that down. 200. Okay, good. Let's listen at the right door now. She has no fucking clue. That's our second terror 20 on a perception check. So that's door number 12. Oh, this is the Brotherhood of Zeus command room. Oh my god. They also would have burst out, wouldn't they? Oh, shit. Okay, they all should have come out then. Fuck, this isn't going to go as easily. Alright, well, after the sound of combat, which was 1 round, so it was very quick, then the other 6 come out, including Canadius, who has 4 hit dice and chain armor. So he's got 14 AC. Alright, initiative again. Success. Nethun's gonna shoot his crossbow again. He misses this time. This is where it's all gonna fall apart. Tarthona leaps in and she's gonna swing her sword. That is a hit on one of the jabronis and a kill. She'll try to do the blender again to try to hit 2 more guys. -2. Great success. Excellent. So she does get to do her damage of 1d6 plus 2. Excellent. She drops 2 more in a big blender attack. So that leaves 2 more brothers and Canadius. Porridge is going to try to hit another brother. We'll say Canadius is in the back right now. He grazes one of them. So 3 hit points left. So 1 full hit point, 1 with 3 hit points, and Canadius. They get to go. One of them's the one that Porridge just hit is going to counter. The other one's going to hit Tarthona, and Canadius is going to hit Tarthona because clearly she's the most dangerous. So the one on Porridge with +1, that is a miss. The one on Tarthona with +1, miss. And Canadius, who swings with +4, and we outnumber by 1, so +5. He does hit. He just swings for 1d8, just like the others, so it's not devastating. But it's painful. Down to 7. Okay. I guess he also could attempt a minor exploit to try to, like, grab her or something. But he's swinging for d8 with a sword, so per axe rules, which we always follow, that means that he is using a normal sword two-handed, so he doesn't have a hand free. There's still some minor exploits he could do, I suppose, but I'm not going to do it. And I don't usually do minor exploits for monsters, even when I'm DMing or anything. Like, it just... Most of the time I forget, and then the other times it's just like, I kind of feel bad about stomping on things further. But yes, I mean, if I was doing combat as war, every enemy would be doing a minor exploit every time they hit. New initiative. Probably fail here. No, success. Okay. Nathoon's gonna join Porridge on this one guy with his staff. So they outnumber slightly. He's using it one-handed. Did I mark it as 1d4? No. Yeah, it's 1d4 one-handed. So he's swinging then the staff with +1 for outnumbering this guy 2-1. Crit, 4 damage. Caves his fucking skull in. Excellent. Didn't know he had it in him. That leaves Porridge free to shift over to next to Tarthona and swing normally at the last normal brother. And he's going to use Lucky Strikes. So he's going to swing Mace with advantage. That is a hit and a kill. That just leaves the big guy. Tarthona's swinging the short sword, and we have +1 now because we outnumber. That is a hit. He has chainmail, so he has 14 AC. So I did, what, 3 damage? Okay, he's got quite a bit of hit points. He has 18, so he's down to 15 now. We're going to go ahead and use a minor exploit to try to trip him. I can't imagine his dex is phenomenal. We'll give him 12 dex. He rolls a success of 9. Oh, I beat him. He's tripped. So the dagger follow-up is going to be at +3. Outnumber plus prone, but disadvantage. Oh, also damage. So we did 5 damage. I don't think I did... Right. So 5 damage. He's down to 13 health. We miss with the dagger. Okay. Now it's his turn. He's going to stand, of course. And he's going to swing at Tarthona with +4. He misses wildly. Nathoon's initiative. Come on, keep it rolling. Yes, okay. We outnumber him 3-1. Nathoon's going to join in with the staff now. So we get +2 to the roll. He misses. Porridge with the mace. +2. Miss. Tarthona with the short sword. Hit for 4. He's down to 9 health now. She's going to trip him again. He failed. She succeeded. He's tripped. I should have maybe started with that, huh? It wouldn't have made a difference. So she actually gets +4 to the attack roll. Prone plus outnumber 3 to 1. And 2 damage with disadvantage. Hit. He's down to 5 hit points. He's now going to roll a morale check. We'll give him a morale of 13, or will of 13. He succeeded. So he's still pretty confident. Somehow. Because Tarthona looks kind of bloody and bruised. So he's going to stand again and try to cleave her head off. He rolls. That is a plus. So that is a hit for another D8 damage. She's down to 2. New initiative. She could still die. Nope, she succeeded. She's going to swing with the short sword. Fumble. He gets a counterattack +4. He fumbles. She gets to swing again. And she stabs him through the eye socket, and he drops dead. Okay. Woo. That's... Yeah. Okay. So, coming in from this direction, specifically, and dealing with the bees, and then, like, breaking open the cage instead of being stealthy and, like, picking the lock or something, that's probably the hardest thing you could do. Because if I had read all that properly, all 10 or all 11 of them would have come out at once. So I gave myself a huge break by not reading properly. But we just wiped out the Brotherhood of Zeus. Right. So that's going to be worth a short rest, 100%. Tarthona got double great successes. She rolled a 1 and a 2. It might all go to hit points, but I really do need some... Oh, he has Divine Spellcasting. Okay. He's going to use... I mean, Lego does this shit all the time. Because if I recover half of her lost HP now, she'll get back 7. If I do it after he uses, like, Cure Light Injury on her, she might only get back, like, 6? No. Sorry, no. So say he heals for 4, and she's at 6, that's 11, and 5, so she'd get back 5. I guess it's a horse apiece, really. Okay, he'll just use Divine Spellcasting and cast Cure Light Injury. Great success. Okay. So 1d8 plus 1. 5 hit points. That puts her at 7. So now if she heals half her lost HP, she recovered 5 up to 12. Do I want her at 12, or do I want her at flow, or do I want to have a reroll? I feel like a reroll is really important if you actually die. So I'm going to bite the bullet and give her a reroll. Porridge. Also 2 great successes. He's getting back his spellcasting, and he's going to get back... Yeah, as long as he has 1 reroll, I'm relatively happy, and we'll give him back Lucky Strikes. And then the Thune desperately wants his spells back. Alright, he'll take it. Still pretty shitty. He really could use some recovery. But we can't go back to town. That is an interesting aspect of this dungeon, is we can't leave. Now, normal D&D, I guess, you could find a safe room, like one of these barracks or something, you know, a closed-off room, and rest overnight for 8 hours. But I think even in, like, OSC, that doesn't really give you much. For each full day of complete rest, you recover 1d3 hit points. Yeah, I mean, it's not generous. So, we can never get a long rest here, because it's not a safe location. I mean, it would require a really, like, almost magically safe room, I would say, in a dungeon, in order to get a long rest there. And you'd have to spend a whole week in the dungeon. safe location. So it's maybe possible, but you'd really have to be confident. Because if you get into any combat or anything like that, the whole timer resets. You'd have to be really confident the DM's going to be like, okay, you're safe. A week goes by. Otherwise, don't bother. But yeah, so we can't go back to any town because we're kind of lost in the middle of nowhere and we need water. We still have not found water, but now we found humans. There really should be water here, right? Like, they have to survive. Where are they getting water? Yeah. Where the fuck are they getting water? If that's not explained here, I swear to God. Ah, room contains brothers' equipment, including food and water. Food and water. It says Canadius has a helm of telepathy, which is not mentioned in this one. Oh no, it does mention it here. He wears a helm of telepathy. Ooh. Okay, well, we're gonna definitely take that. I suppose... Doesn't really matter who takes it. I'm probably not even gonna put it on, so we'll just take it. We need the apparent value for the Helm of Telepathy, which we have seen before. $2,500. That's the big boy. Okay. Oh, and then the XP for that second fight, which is 5 more level 1, so it's 50 plus 80, 130. Okay, so all told then we have, let's see, 1,700 plus 1,600 plus 2,500. Does the rest of this add up? Yeah, there's 200, 130. Yeah, okay. We have leveled up to 2 if we make it back. So I think what I could do at this point is we gather up the food and water here. And we depart. And we keep going on our trip to try to make it to a settlement. I don't think there's any rulings there for... Because you're meant to put this into a campaign world, you know? It's not just like a standalone location. But for our purposes, we can hand wave it because I want to get to Barakus. So, yes, I think we could end it here and say we're done. Because all I really wanted was level 2. Which means that we didn't make it too far in this dungeon. We did get through basically the first level. There's a statue of Zeus here, but it's just a normal statue that's been painted gold. There's the Priest of Hera's quarters, which contains a giant gecko. And there's the Priest of Themis's quarters, which contains nothing. So we basically cleared out the first level pretty much. Well, it says tier 1 and 2. However, that's exactly divided. And then it gets obviously a lot complicated from there. So we're not going to go downstairs. We're going to get the fuck out of here and leave. So it's hard for me to sort of judge the module. I do think it's fairly easy. Like, it's definitely a lower level thing. Fire beetles could be tough. 2d4 is not... I mean... Well, especially if you're running this with, like, an actual, like, you know, Shadow Dark or OSE or something. I mean, yeah, there's some dangerous stuff here. 7 Sturges is not an easy fight. pretty much no matter what. It's not too bad. I mean, they only have 2 hit points and they do 1d3 damage, so it shouldn't be too bad. The Greek Fire, if he had actually managed to throw that, would have been catastrophic. The bees, the bee encounter could be really bad. So ideally you go this way and you just meet the Brotherhood of Zeus on friendly terms. So they tell you about the bees. You don't get that treasure in that case, I think. But yeah, still. So yeah, not a bad little first level of a dungeon, and kind of, again, I like the theming and everything. And I do think in a normal group, like if I were DMing, the different factions and stuff could be really fun. I mean, that is an important aspect of any sort of slightly larger dungeon, is having different factions and having intelligent creatures in there that you can interact with outside of just slaughter. I mean, I know that's how we did it, but that's how I do a lot of stuff solo. But yeah, having the different factions and playing them against each other and all that, and joining one, or I think that's really cool. So yeah, so far I'd say I'm pretty impressed, and I don't think we'll really ever come back to this. I kind of doubt it, but yeah, I am. It is another one on my grand list of something I probably would run for my family or for another group. Again, especially if I wanted to kick off like a desert or wasteland or whatever, like a Dark Sun themed campaign. This could be a really strong start. Lost in the desert with no water or food or anything. Because really, if it wasn't for these guys, I don't know where they get their water. I don't know if that's ever explained. But if it wasn't for them, like, you'd have to go quite a ways in here to maybe find water. Of, like, just, like, water, natural water you could take, you know? That doesn't belong to someone. Yeah, I have no idea. Like, it's all just deeper and deeper crypts and tombs and... who knows? I don't see anywhere where it's like, here's an underground stream or something. You can get all the water you want. Which, again, like I said, raises this grand question of where the fuck these people are getting water. But that seems like one of those things that a DM worries about and players don't. So probably don't sweat it. But either way, it does seem like if the players go in and want to get water so they can leave, they're going to have to deal with these intelligent factions one way or another. So that's cool. If you become a full member of the Brotherhood of Zeus, you get immunity to lightning and +1 to Constitution. Damn. But if you ever turn your back on Zeus, you lose the benefits, and you're automatically hit by lightning attacks. If you're outdoors during a storm, 5% chance of getting struck by lightning and killed. Awesome. Okay, so that's all good. So we're going to hand wave most stuff. We make it to End Home. For whatever reason, we make it to End Home. And we're going to sell all our shit there. So let's tally up our total gold now. We buy our mule, so we'll subtract our gold from that. We buy Gunther there. The 2 golden masks that we absconded with. I guess we could have absconded with more, but I had to carry the water and stuff, so we'll leave it. So those are 85 each that we get. So 85 times 2 is 170. That's... I'll leave it for the moment. 170. The jewelry, that's... Okay, I gotta keep track of this. 170 gold for the masks. Jewelry, that's 700. So we get 595 gold for that. Okay, fair. The helmet telepathy. Could I try to sell it? Yes. Theoretically. It wouldn't be easy. Because its actual value Its base cost is 100,000. It's extremely valuable. I can't believe you give something like that to level 1 players. Yeah, I mean, based on Axe production numbers and everything, its base cost is 100,000 gold because it's a level 4 spell and it's permanent once per turn. That's really a powerful item. Like, mechanically, it's not that useful to you most of the time, like in a dungeon or something. You can just read things' thoughts and they get a spell saving throw to resist. Compared to like a +4 sword or something that's like, okay, it's useful in certain situations, but I suppose so is a sword. Okay, well, yeah, so base cost of 100,000 means we'll almost never be able to sell this thing, ever. Or, if we do sell it, it's going to be at a drastically reduced rate. But we never put it on and we never used it. So we would be able to actually get XP for whatever we managed to sell it for. Adventurers can sell items at less than market price in order to increase their chance of selling the item. Now, Endhome, we said, is a class 3 market, so we have 100. We have 1,000. Yeah, we'll find a buyer at 100,000, or sorry, 1,000. If we want to bump that up, I mean, we could try to sell it for 100,000. Be like, hey, we have a helmet telepathy, 100,000 gold. It can be yours. We have a 3% chance per month. Honestly, it should probably be even, like, it says 10,001 gold or more. So it really should be like a 0.1 or something. But as a DM, I'd say, sure, 3%. And if you want to spend 12 months here, maybe. It does mean they would get 100,000 XP. On the slim chance that happens, which changes your campaign probably quite a bit. 100,000 XP. Where would that put us? Let's say we have nothing. We have no XP right now. Well, let's just say we're level 2. Yeah, we level 2. So 2,000 gets us to that. Another 4,000 to level 4. So that's 6,000 plus 8,000 to 5. So that's 14,000. Then it's another 16,000. That's 30,000. Plus another 33,000. That's 60. So I think we'd be level 7. However, there is a rule. There is a rule somewhere. I think it's in Axe. Yes, you can never earn enough experience to advance 2 levels or more in one adventure. So even if we got 100,000 XP, we'd be capped at gaining no more than 2 levels off of it. And technically, I would count that because it's from that adventure. So I would count that. So we really couldn't even get... We'd be level 3. If no matter what we sold it for, we'd be level 3. So honestly, I should probably just point to a number that would get us to level 3. So maybe I should do XP first and tally this whole number up. So that would be 45 plus 1,700 plus 30 plus 50 plus 1,600, 50... 200, 2,500, 130. All right, 6,305 divided by 3. All right, we're each at 2,101. 101 out of 4,000. Okay. That's our XP as it stands right now if we do nothing else. So, if we want to just get to level 3 then, which would be our cap, we cannot get more than 4,000 XP for that adventure. We want to sell it for 1,900 times 3. 5,700. That's the price that we would ideally like to get for it. But I mean, cash is still cash. So obviously, I'm going to try 1 month to roll for the 3%. So we're going to try once to sell it for 100,000. If we get a 1, 2, or 3 on this roll, no. Okay. So now, okay, well that didn't work. Couldn't find a buyer. So now we're going to drop it down. Granted, I don't know if for selling purposes, if that's how it works, because this is for a whole month, you know, which seems to suggest that, like, I'm trying for the whole month to find a buyer, you know, and I have a 3% chance. If I'm going around and saying, trying to find a buyer at 100,000, but I'm at the same time trying to find a buyer for 10,000, like, that doesn't make any sense, right? I mean, I guess it's a big town. You probably could do some stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know if there's any rules in here for that specifically. Yeah, it just says each month, you know? I know for, like, hiring henchmen and stuff, that is broken up by weeks and stuff. Like, you find half the henchman number in the first week, and then so on and so forth throughout the month. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't think we get into the specifics of that. So fuck it. And this is how I usually run it. Players try the percentages and blah blah blah. Although I don't think they've really done much with selling high value stuff, so this is the first time that's come up. But fuck it, we're just gonna spend, you know, whatever. We ask around, and we don't get a response. So now we're gonna drop the price. There's really no difference between 5,700 and 10,000, so we'll try for 10,000. If we roll 1 to 25, that's what we get. Nope. Okay, that would have been nice. So now we're going to go for the top end that we guarantee, and that's 1,000. So we guarantee a seller, and we sell it for 1,000 gold. So we all get an extra 1,000. And we, yeah, also 1,000 gold. So that's 333. 434 each. Not a bad number. Level 3 would have been very nice, because that would have been put us past where we were with our other characters that died. But now we're on an equal footing with them. I think we have more treasure. We can dump this then. We dump this. And we dump this. We also have these gems. Plenty more money. So that's 85. Let's see, 850 plus 85 plus 85 plus 425. Okay, that's another 1,445 gold. Okay. And we have all of his coinage and another 170 for the gems. Okay. And we'll have the money converted. The silver. Because I don't like to lug that around. I usually am pretty harsh on conversion rates of straight coinage, because I like to think money changers are all assholes. So that's usually like a 20% rate. So that would be 200 gold minus 20%, which is 180. So he gets 180 gold out of that. $680. Okay. That means he can get rid of most of this and just keep one. Except he doesn't really... It's almost certainly going on the mule. But for right now, he's holding. Okay, that's our gold total. So that's 100... 3,380 gold. Plus his gold of 680. So yeah, about 4,000 gold. That's a pretty good amount. We can do quite a lot with 4,000 gold. We can deck ourselves out pretty nicely. Almost certainly getting masterwork weapons for Tarthona. Probably 2 masterwork short swords. She doesn't really need a dagger. Let's see, 4,000 or so divided by 650. Let's just say whatever, around about. Yeah, we can get about 6 masterwork items if we spend all our money on that. Which is probably not a bad idea. At least masterwork weapons. So that would be for these 2. So that would be 3 of the masterworks. And then I guess we could just do masterwork leather, masterwork chain, and masterwork shield. Nathun doesn't really need much, so... I mean, he'd benefit somewhat from a masterwork. I mean, he would, but it's not as important. So that's where I want to put all the money. We'll have to tally up specifics, see how much I have left over. I'll probably do this shopping on my own real quick. Because we also have to buy the mule, which is 20 gold, and we have to buy a few other things now, like thieves' tools. I also have to level up. Most of that's not going to be too interesting, I think. So I'll do that on my own as well. As far as her flow ability, though... I know there's some good ones here. Whirling Death. Yeah, Whirling Death basically gives you the major exploit for free, really. I mean, it takes a flow, and it's an action. And that is pretty crucial, because that does not mean it's not a free bonus cleave or anything. It is very possible for you to whiff, because you have to make a dex check with a -2 penalty for every enemy beyond the first within melee range of you. So if you're surrounded by 5, it's like, yeah, maybe you can drop all 5. But you're rolling with a -8 penalty on your dex. And if you whiff, your entire turn is blown. You get nothing out of it. Windmill is a pretty easy option, especially in a dungeon, to just add 1d6 damage. Ambidextrous will eventually be really good once I can reliably hit with 2 with my offhand. But yes, I do think probably Whirling Death is it's likely the best. I mean, it could be disastrous and lead to our deaths, but I think it's probably the best. So we'll probably pick Whirling Death, and I'll add that. Porridge's spells. Yes, he gets another divine spell of his choice. It's a good question, isn't it? He's got plenty of choices for first level. Bane Rune could be good. Destroy Dead could be good. Bane Rune's a strong option, I'll say that. Giving him +2 against specific types of creatures could be very good. Word of Command does not include Suicide, but it does include Sleep. It's not quite the same thing. But immediately fall prone, fainting, and start slumbering. Oh, no, die. They become unconscious. It's not suicide, but again, unlike suicide from DCC, there's no bonus to the roll. So, yeah, they just become unconscious, which I imagine is quite a bit worse than slumbering. Slumbering, helpless, blinded, deaf, and mute. Ended immediately if they're attacked, damaged, or moved. And, unless it's being maintained by magic, it ends automatically at the conclusion of the first combat round in which a noise is made loud enough to be heard. Well, I guess it is sort of being maintained by magic? I don't know, but I don't know why you'd ever pick Sleep when Die exists. And they become unconscious. Yeah. Which ends if they're slain, it ends if their wounds are treated, ends if 24 hours pass. That's it. So you'd always pick unconscious over slumbering. Okay, well then, Word of Command could be pretty good, couldn't it? 15-foot range. It's just one target. They get a spell saving throw, so Luck Will or Luck Int maybe, one of the two. Probably Luck Will. It is sort of a you're dead kind of spell. You're already dead. And it's any living target. So anything... But they do have to understand it, so it's not going to work on animals. Okay, I mean, that's pretty strong. Bane Rune is also really good, but it's only one type of creature, and so we kind of have to be prepared ahead of time. Alright, I'll probably go with Word of Command. We haven't really used that in Axe before, so we'll probably use that. Yes. And then Nathun. He does not get any new spells. He needs to find a spell book for that, or he needs to find scrolls for that. So he doesn't get any new spells, he just gets an extra spellcraft, but that's good enough. Mage Missile is still pretty powerful. And I'm tempted to bump up his int to make him more likely to Great Succeed, so he gets a D6 on it. But probably it's going to go to Will. He needs to recover his spells constantly, so it's probably going to go to Will. Alright, so I'll handle all that, and next time we'll be back in the region containing Lost City of Barakus, and maybe we'll actually get into the dungeon. I don't think so. Because we're going to have to set out and, like, reset up the whole lot. I mean... the best thing I could probably do for myself is find someone to specifically tell me that the cave entrance down there is past the river here. That would be the only thing that would really save me time, because otherwise we have to go through the whole rigmarole of going up there and searching the hills and doing the locations. So, fuck it. We're gonna save ourselves some trouble, especially because the campaign world didn't reset. You know, it's the same world, so that hill giant's still dead and all that. So, I don't know. It would, whatever. Someone's gonna tell us about this cave, and we're gonna go there. Maybe his wife, who's psychic, maybe she's now figured out. Maybe she sees a big river and there's a cave nearby. We're like, oh, okay, well that's helpful. she's still trying to find someone to rescue her dead husband. Anyways, so maybe we will get to the actual dungeon next time. That would be very exciting. But for now, my name is Mang. This has been Solo Roll Manging. I'll see you fine folks in the next part.